Hey, we are live. Hello, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson, Ring of Hire Show. And guess who's back? Mr. Jason Risoli and Mrs. Or is it Miss or Mrs.?
Miss. No,
Miss.
Mrs.
Miss. And that's a nice thing to ask on air, right? Miss or Mrs.?
That's all right. That ship sailed a few years back.
Yeah, right. It's good to see everybody back again. Hey, tonight we got a couple subjects, but you know the drill. We'll be right back after this video. I am trying to watch to see if we get some more comments tonight, everybody. So if you do have something to say, type it in a couple times. Maybe we'll see their names pop up on here. But for some reason, LinkedIn has been acting strange. I don't know. I don't get it.
I actually just told the woman that I know who was saying she was going to join. I messaged her privately while we were on commercial and said, if you comment and we don't respond to it,
right,
message me and let me know so that we know that it's not. So that might be a nice test.
I love it. I just had somebody else message me saying I just messaged. I'm like, all right, well, just see what happens. We'll sit there and fire. The goal tonight is to at least let's see if we can get 5 comments. How's that? That's
there we go.
Cool, right?
It's 5 not the comments, it's the visibility.
I know, right? So how was everybody's Thanksgiving? How was it, Jason?
It was eventful. It was I had a lot of folks over. Somehow, I like cooking. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I
like to cook?
I cook a lot. Yes. I don't like baking though. So, but I like cooking. And somehow I screwed up the turkey this year.
No.
Yes. It was supposed to take 4.5 to 5 hours. It was done in 3. So
wow.
How the hell did you do that?
I have no idea. We got a comment. There we go.
There we go. There's Mike.
Got a comment.
Mike. All right, Mike, you made the first comment tonight. We got
who else screwed up the turkey this year besides me is the question out there to the audience. No, so I somehow it was done in 3 hours. And imagine that, like trying to do the dance and jiggle act for an hour and a half because the turkey's done and nothing else is ready.
Did you have the stuffing in it? Or you
no, I just had like some celery and carrots inside it, and I lathered. And I think the only thing that saved it is I really lathered it up with a bunch of like some herbal butter and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the one thing that prevented it from drying out. But I screwed up the turkey. Somehow it cooked an hour and a half faster, 50% faster than it was supposed to cook. Almost. Yeah, I don't know.
So wait, did you actually overcook it, or did you just mess up the timing and it was done early?
I messed up the timing. It was done an hour and a half early. I just happened to put it in at the thermometer in at the 3 hour mark. I'm like, oh, let's see how it's doing. I'm like, it's done.
It's done.
I'm like, what? I'm like, so all I did is I turned it off and I just let it sit in there and keep warm and pray that it didn't dry out over the next hour and a half.
I thought you were saying you overcooked it or burned it.
No, I didn't. You gotta remember, I tell you, I cook all the time though, Kylie.
This is me. You lost all that weight.
You said well, I put some back on in the last
That's
week.
What the holidays are for.
How was yours in the state of Florida there, Kylie? How was that?
It was good. We actually ended up, my kids were with their dad this year. So we went and did a non-traditional and went to SeaWorld for the day. It was fun. We rode coasters and watched some watched some shows, and it was nice. And then we came home and had dinner and a couple cocktails and no obligations, watched a movie. It was kind of incredible. It's the first time that I've ever not had just a list of to-dos for the holidays. So this was different. I really enjoyed it.
All right. My brother, I wanted to tell you, Mike, since he's in Florida, he had to go to Mike. I know he'll say it. He sends me a picture for his work release. He went out to fix a door at a zoo for a giraffe.
I love giraffes.
I got a video. I was like, all right, Mike, you're going places, man. I was like, damn, you got to see zebras and all that kind of stuff. And oh my God, look who's on here.
I
Oh
see.
my God. Drop the mic. That is Mr. Kenny.
He's on like Kenny says he loves your tie, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't have one on there yet. I got to get it, Jason. As soon as I get the tie clip.
I daunted the Christmas sweater for you guys tonight.
There we go.
All right. That's nice. I like it. I like it. It looks good.
Dave, your guest last night, I loved her tree in the background and the whole Christmas aura of the show, and your white beard that went along with it to bring it out.
You know what?
I loved everything about your show last night. It was perfect.
I thought about that. You know what? I could just say a Santa Claus, right? If I keep
There
growing.
you go.
Right down. It's Movember. I think the one guy on LinkedIn was saying kept doing a video, but he grew a mustache. He's like, it's Movember. I said, that just looked weird.
It's no shave November.
No shave Movember. That's right. And look at listen.
To my
Kenny's
wife,
even
that
saying
means
Kylie.
no kissing November if I were to do that. So.
It was Michael Jackson elephant. Oh, geez, that's really good. I can imagine that the elephant too. So now in Brian's Eric, he's off tonight. He said he has something to do with his kids, and he's like, I want to be on the Fantastic Four for a long time. I'm like, Fantastic Four. We got to come up with a name. We maybe leave it up to the guest as the show keeps evolving. Sure. And
that would be fun. I know Fantastic Four. I immediately think of Marvel. So
yeah, superheroes.
Yeah, which I'm not upset with. I have a dog named Captain for obvious reasons.
Hey. All right, I got a question for you, Kylie. Kylie, what superhero? I saw it was actually for an interview question. What superhero would you be if you could? What would you be? Who? In an interview, that was one of the questions.
Iron Man.
Oh, I didn't expect that.
He's insanely smart.
Okay.
He's the good guy, well respected, and if you've watched his demeanor, he's so dry and witty, and you either love or hate him. Like he's my kind of guy. That's
all right. Jason,
and he can fly.
I think I've been actually asked. I think like long ago, I was once asked this question in an interview.
Really?
I do think it was, and it's one of those things like, I don't know if it has any plausibility to, inaccuracy to hiring a candidate based on the answer, but I always go with what my wife calls me, and she calls me He-Man. That's like my little name that she's always used. So I only use that when I don't. He-Man? At that point, I can't choose anything else, but she always calls me He-Man. So
who's that? That's a superhero.
He-Man. You never? Oh my gosh, you don't know He-Man and Skeletor from back in the day?
Oh, geez, no. I'm 57. Oh my
gosh. We have to be conscious here. How old was I in this back in the day?
Yeah, I'm Aquaman. I like Aquaman. Put it this way, cool.
I had it when lunchboxes were metal. That's
I had a metal lunchbox, but I'm pretty sure it was a significant hand-me-down. I had the plastic ones.
The plastic. The Barbie. You had Barbie.
Kenny, you've heard of He-Man, right? Someone's got to have heard of He-Man. Come on.
Kenny says, Jason Risoli, please crack a ginormous
smile.
Ken, you better watch him. You're going to be put in jail again. He's going to be put in Lincoln jail.
Yeah, right. When in good company, it's easy to smile.
Yeah, he does. All right.
That's why he never smiles with us.
Jason, he's got it. Kenny called me last night too. He's like, hey, it's good to hear your voice. And he's like, he's been trying to get on the show for weeks, and now I can't believe now it works. So go figure that. So
there you go.
So we'll try to think of a name coming up with 4 people or 3 or 4 people here and see what we can come up with. A couple things. Hey, real quick, did you see that on LinkedIn today with Elon Musk? What he said?
Yeah.
They had an interview with him, and we always talk about how you can't talk about certain things. Well, he was doing an interview. The guy asked him, saying, hey, the reason why you went to Israel is because for an apology tour, because I guess he was saying different things, and they believe he was anti-Semitic, whatever you want to call that. And he said people were going to withdraw the commercials from him. So right on the stage, and you're going to see it now that I say it, All of a sudden he goes, puts his hands up. He goes, F you. I mean, he said the whole word. And then he said it again. F you all. If you're going to bribe me for putting on a commercials and pay, he says, F. He's going, oh my God. You got to see it. I was just like,
I'll have to look for that. Yeah. No, I did not see that.
It was real.
Yeah,
the whole audience said nothing. The whole audience said nothing. And then he says,
what do you say?
Hi, Bob. What's that?
I said, what do you say in that moment? Like,
he was pissed. He was just.
People are drawn sometimes to others that are very decisive and divisive like that. I mean, because as much as they don't like people that come off like that, they do like people that have the wherewithal to make decisions and stand by their characters. Even if it's something that they don't feel that they're aligned with, they like someone who's there are leadership traits in people like that people are somewhat drawn to. They don't like people that are indecisive. They like people that are decision makers. And yes, there's not. Sometimes it's the right decision that you like and so forth, but they appreciate someone that is willing to stand up for what they believe in and say things like that. Again, I'm not saying I agree with it, but there are aspects of that are enviable or admirable that to it. So
Kylie, you never get aggravated, right? You don't ever get aggravated.
Funny enough, not anymore. If you had asked me that a year ago, 5 years ago, maybe a different conversation. I don't know, things of the last year I think changed me. Being laid off, losing my mom, like there was a lot of big things that happened in the last year, and it really puts into perspective just all of it. It puts it in perspective. And so there's not much that really like gets to me anymore, whether it's stress or anger or no, not much. And I do have quite a bit of respect, whether I'm connected to their morals or their opinions or not. I am very appreciative of somebody with that level of conciseness in being rooted in their beliefs of, no, you're not going to sway me because public opinion says that I should be.
But
F off.
Why can't you say so? I know we talked about this before, about things that you're not supposed to talk about online, on shows. You stay away from politics, religion. We all know that. We say that. But why sometimes, you look at social media platforms and all that, even TV, everything, it just doesn't fit the narrative sometimes. Like, it's like it depends, like you said, like Elon Musk says it, okay, it's okay. Somebody else says it, it's not. And that's the kind of stuff I get aggravated at, because you can't say some things that you want to say.
Yeah, it's a double standard, triple standard. I think that's just what society is now. And no, they don't say that you can't say those things. They say that if you want to continue progressing into a trendsetter position, then you shouldn't. But I think that's to each their own. What's the end goal? When you do something like this, what's the end goal? Are you there because you just really enjoy being able to even speak to a small group and have your feelings heard and connect with even that handful of people in a raw, authentic, organic way? Right. Or are you there because it's something you want to turn into a living? And I think that those kinds of things dictate whether or not it is a good idea to open your mouth about those types of things. And I personally am very much the person that is, I'm going to say what I want to say.
Yeah, Kenny's like, I don't believe you, Kylie. Then he says, Kylie Whitley, tell it like it is. but
yeah, and that is who I am. I am a love me or hate me kind of person. I am not everybody's cup of tea, and that is something I have grown to be very comfortable with.
Right.
I don't give an opinion or have a conversation for the greater good. I'm not trying to make everybody like me. It's not who I am. If it benefits one person who's been in a position like I've been in, or needs to hear what I have to say, then that makes me feel good. I do this because I genuinely enjoy sitting here on my Wednesday nights with you gentlemen. And I like the topics that we talk about. It makes me happy. It's not because I'm out there to make a living on this, but if somebody benefits from it, one person, great. If they don't, then okay, I had a good Wednesday night.
Yeah, I say the same thing. I'm not afraid to say, if you go that route and worry about everything that you say, even when you do a podcast, because people, I think employers sometimes might look and listen, and then you say to yourself, well, should I say this or not? But if you think like that, I don't think you can do a show and you have to worry about. I mean, there's, like you said, politically correct if you want to be all different things. It just irritates you because sometimes it seems the most negative things online or even on LinkedIn, that's what makes it big. The negativity. Nothing like super, hey, let's, we all graduated, we got money in our bank and everything like that. The happy stuff, it doesn't make any sense. But negative.
But does it make it big in the way that you want it to? Because if you look at the following and the comments and the viewership and the shares, is it positive? Is it doing what I think, knowing you, Dave, is it doing what you would be setting out to do? Or is it just causing harm and an uncomfortable conversation? And so I think a lot of that too is it viewership that you want? Again, is it viewership? Or is it productivity and positivity?
It just calms you down. Yeah. It just calms you down. It calms you down. But it does. And you know that, Jason. It just, look at that. She balances me out right there. I can't come back and say nothing. I'm like, you're right. You're right, though. It is positive. I look at the positive. I said the same thing to you. If one person, if that girl last night we had on, she really had a great time. It impacted her positive, So what's that?
Kenny said, I love it when Dave Wilson gets riled up. Kenny, so do I, because it's always me.
Yeah, because Kenny knows. Well, I used to start out, I used to just be pissed off all the time, but that's what started the show. I was just freaking out. But you could vent yourself and then people liked it, but then again, I guess like you said, Jason, it's like somebody standing up for it,
Yeah. I mean, I always say like there's standing up for what you feel is right, but there's also standing up for what you feel is ethically right. So, and if you feel so strong in those convictions that you're willing to, in essence, pronounce that on social media in a public setting in front of, thousands of millions of people or in front of a large audience, then you probably are on some sort of solid ground, and you probably are in the ethical right. But there's definitely, when you work for an employer, if what you're saying is not aligned and could possibly put the company in jeopardy and a liability in a situation like that, or bring bad publicity to that company, there could be consequences, even if you feel that you're ethically right, and again, your freedom of speech doesn't protect you against that, from an employment action when it comes to that. Here I am bringing it back to the HR side of this conversation, right?
No, I know, but
of course. But in all seriousness,
like that. No, it's true.
I believe everyone's entitled to their opinion, right? Everyone is, but there's always a spot and a place for it. And you have to realize, if there could be consequences for things that you say, because not everybody is going to agree with you. Not everyone's going to say their favorite color rose is red. Some are going to say it's purple and pink and yellow and blue and black and white, and there's always going to be a difference of opinion. It's just whether or not you say something that could potentially, cause you an impact, could go against, what would be perceived as acceptable to an employer. As for acceptable to society, that's a whole nother story, right? So that's all I would couch to people in this conversation is, stand by your convictions, believe in what you believe in, just realize who your audience is and where you're saying these things, that's all,
Well, you both, wow. I love it. See, that's what I'm saying. It just, the fantastic three, I was going to say tonight, look at that. It just comes out like that. But no, it's true. The way you say it, and then even the way you said it, Kylie, when you think about it, that I get it. So,
and I love that Kylie likes to join Wednesdays with us, Dave. This
I do.
That's right. See,
usually I'm the one on the bottom of the screen, though. Somehow
I'm not gonna lie. I was a little.
She's not looking down on me today. I feel like I got a little
like the Brady Bunch. Can you do that?
I was a little uncomfortable when I jumped on. I was like, how did I end up down here? I feel like I got bumped from my.
Well, I got two good announcements for you. I forgot to tell you. I paid for more money for the year for this.
That's how I got elevated. I got a promotion.
No, so get this.
I got a demotion. Whatever.
Get this. You're gonna, if we get done, say around 8:30 or so, at 9:00, we're gonna be live again on my Ring of Hire show, LinkedIn. This thing will say we're gonna be live because I paid for a new service now to where I've been streaming. I can take our shows now.
Okay.
Set it up just like we are right now, and it's going to go live. Last night, people watched the young lady I had on for a job in New Orleans. I had it set up for 9 o'clock last night, and it says live. People are going to be asking you questions, but you don't respond because all the comments are coming up. So you can schedule a live event now. So everything after this, I take ours and put it. You can run 24 hours a day on it now.
That's awesome.
It is
cool.
Yeah, and then the other feature.
And I do notice, like, Kenny's on Facebook. Your brother's on Facebook. It seems like the Facebook comments are really so I don't know if it's the LinkedIn connection or something.
Well,
but
Kenny said
it definitely seems like we're Facebook heavy right now from a commentary.
It's growing on Facebook. And then the other feature is I bought 3 more seats. So for both of you, and once I figure out how to do it, when we go live now, not only are you going to be an admin, but this will activate on your page as you're being live on your page.
Oh, good.
So now I think to where, it's going to go another seat. That means on your page, when you're on the show, it broadcasts that you're live right there. So they did that to try to make the shows get more in a reaction, because now
if we do this if we go live after 10 o'clock Eastern, Dave, they'll all know I'm lying because I'm in bed by then.
So you're going to be in bed, what was it Mike says?
But I'm up by 4:30 or 5 every morning on the flip
Mike
side.
says I could never comment on YouTube, only Facebook. Yeah, now there was a guy last night was on YouTube. He was able to get on for YouTube. Yeah. So
it's just so interesting that it seems to work half the time and the other half not. Because yes, you're right. None of these comments are coming in from LinkedIn this evening.
As they're coming in. So, all right. Well, there was a couple things I wanted to go over because since I print out books and everything, and then we never finish, we start talking about one thing and we never get through it. But there was a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. Even I saw a couple people about micromanagement, and we've had a show before on it, but I want to dive back into a little bit more of it. Jason, have you dealt with micromanagers? I'm sure in your career you have, right?
Absolutely.
How do you work it between two? Like, I mean, when one person's saying somebody's, being micromanaged and they're coming to a department, naturally, I'm sure it's an investigation, everything like that. But what do you tell somebody that's a micromanager if you're just telling them or something?
I always align with the manager and fire the subordinate employee because they're probably at fault no matter what. No, that's what Kylie would assume I would say.
Yeah, Kylie's like, oh no.
See, this is why we don't talk to
HR.
No, I mean it honestly you put on the hat of a mediator. You're gonna talk to, typically the person bringing the problem to you is the employee who feels they're being micromanaged, number one. So yes, you're gonna sit down with them and try and be that voice of reason, which I liked how Kenny says I have that voice of reason over there in one of the comments.
You just said that because of that. That's why.
Yeah. So you try and be the voice of reason and listen to that person and understand why they feel they're being micromanaged and see if there's any validity to it, and then use it as a coaching opportunity to the manager without disclosing what employee might be bringing this, but see if there's a way that you can work with that manager from a leadership development standpoint, because they might not even realize they're doing that, and they might have some real cause of doing it. So they might be managing because there's a trust issue or there's a latency issue with the employee responding to them, or they're calling the employee and the employee's not answering during work hours to the phone. And on the flip side, the employee might have perfectly legitimate reasons why they're doing that, and they can't answer the phone or they can't respond quickly. Or so again, it's being that voice of reason, finding that middle ground, trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. But there is definitely times where this typically stems from either a trust issue from the manager or a performance issue. That's where I've seen the two primary aspects of what causes someone to be a micromanager. They either don't trust the employer, or that the work will get done how they want it to get done, or how quickly they want it to get done, or there's a performance issue with that associate that they don't, again, it kind of goes back to trust, that they don't think that the work's being done up to the level that they want it to be done. So, again, it goes back to, having good communication, clarifying expectations, making sure there's regular updates and feedback. And then when someone's doing well, making sure that they're also expressing that, that either way, that, that appreciation for their manager, the manager's appreciation for the associate.
Right. Kylie, do you feel that that when an employee's having issues like that, do you feel that they should come forward besides leaving work? You see a lot of people that'll say, I've been, for the last 2 years, I've been abused. They've been saying complaints, but they leave because they don't say anything. Do you think
I guess it's interesting because when you asked that question, my immediate was, why would you go to HR over micromanaging? So I find that very interesting because I have been in positions in the past where I was micromanaged. My management would change and then they would come in with a very different style. And all of a sudden it goes from me being a top performer and just doing things to all of a sudden, like, you need to add me to all of your calendar appointments. You need to like CC me on all of your emails. And it's this step back of like, whoa, I will, but I have no interest. Kenny just said, I think he probably commented on LinkedIn, but he said nobody saw his comments on LinkedIn. So it's still an issue. But I've had those situations where I'm like, I'm not putting you, and I will, of course, I will do my job, but where I'm like, why do I need to do that? Like, why am I being watched like a 12-year-old? If you don't trust me to do my job, why am I in this? But never once, honestly, did it ever cross my mind, Jason. And funny enough, it was while I was at Sears. So never once did it cross my mind to come to HR. I can understand a lot of the things that you go to HR for, but never once did something like micromanaging feel appropriate to bring to HR, because I took that as an opinion piece. I don't prefer to be managed that way. That's not an HR problem. That's a me and my manager's style problem. So I find that very interesting, and honestly would love to hear a little bit more of like if you've had people come to you with that kind of thing.
And I have. I definitely have, and usually why they come to HR is because they feel they're going to get fired. They feel like the manager's out to get them. They feel like they're out to get that their manager's is trying to fire them or push them out, or they're micromanaging them and it's causing them stress, and mental health issues. So that's why they end up coming to HR because it's elevating to that level, not that they're just being a pest to you or get out of my business. You are someone who has a personality that can push back, that feels a little bit more confident in herself to then maybe push back and be like, why do I have to do that?
Not back then, I didn't.
But yeah, correct. So, but there's definitely people that they feel like they're being intimidated to the point where they don't want to leave. They want to work for the company, but they feel like they're getting pushed out through the micromanagement, or it's causing them stress, and that's where HR gets involved. But again, and sometimes the manager doesn't realize what they're doing, right? So it's educating the manager of the effects of what they're doing. Kind of explain to them, hey, do you realize when you tell someone, that you expect them to do this, is that really reasonable? Like to add you to every one of their calendar invites with every sales call that they're doing and every recruiter phone screen that they're doing, that you have to know of every, like, is that really what you want to be spending your time doing? And
would you ever
why do you feel the need to do that? Is there a lack of trust? And so they might not realize what they're doing, or they might have legitimate concerns, which, there's other ways to go about this. Let's have a discussion with the employee and get out on the table what your issues are around their performance, or the reasons why you're having some issues with the trust of them. Let's have it. And if, again, that's where HR can come in as a middle person and try and help the conversation, mediate the conversation, so that way it isn't somewhat adversarial and destroys the manager subordinate relationship.
But do you feel that you should go to a higher manager? I know that what you're saying there, Kylie, like go to your manager above before you go to like ours, kind of like a chain of command,
like a 1-over-1. As opposed to HR. But I don't even know that I would do that, if I'm being honest. I feel like that was a big part of why I opted to leave, was discomfort in the style of the way that work was being handled at that point. But I didn't feel comfortable going to my manager. I didn't. Right. But I wish that if it was, to your point, Jason, if it was, look, Kylie, you used to perform, you're not anymore.
Right.
You're slacking, you're lacking, whatever it may be. I've gotten negative feedback. I've had XYZ. I would have preferred, I guess, more of a conversation ahead and then taking that measure. I never felt like I was at risk of losing my job. It was never anything like that. But I have had situations. I think that it's easy when you've been in with a company for a while and work becomes pretty mundane, and then you can do it in your sleep. It's easy to get a little lackadaisical, I think, in certain moments. And I've had really great managers that have come to me and kind of had like that eye-awakening moment with me of, hey, you're an incredible employee. Where'd you go?
Yeah.
And that's all it takes is that moment of me going, oh, you're right. I'm not performing at the same level. And that's all I need. And I think that's happened to me twice in the course of my career. And both times it was just a wake-up call of like, oh, I'm so sorry. And my respect went up so much for that manager as opposed to
because
the one that
because of what?
Because they just brought her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they kind of called her out a little bit, like, hey, we know you can do it, but what's going on lately?
It was a one-on-one. And it was like, look, you're a great employee and I've watched you. I've worked with you. I know you're great. Where'd you go? Because you're not right now. You're not performing at that level right now. Is there something personal going on? Is there something I can help with? Have you hit a snag in the work? Are you bored? It was an honest conversation. And then I've had the other ones where maybe that was what happened. Maybe I was getting a little too comfortable, but there was no conversation. There was no redirection. There was no allocation of new responsibilities to mitigate that. It was, you're now going to be essentially under my thumb. And then it made me hate work. I didn't want to come. I didn't want to be a part of it. I was worried that everything I did was under a microscope. It was uncomfortable. And so, I think, I don't know. I guess it can go either way. Some people need it. I personally do not prefer it. I perform much better when I'm not being handled that way.
And there's different ways to go and prevent this also. And, there should be different types of surveys that are at companies. So again, performance reviews, quarterly reviews, one-on-ones like Kylie just spoke about, but also 360 reviews. Those are really
I wanted to ask you about that. Was one of my things on there. There was a 360.
Almost like I have telepathy, Dave.
It's in
I
here.
Swear you don't give me these. So 360 reviews are when when I'm typically a manager is getting reviewed by their boss, by a business partner to each side of them, and then also their subordinates, where their subordinates are reviewing them. They're getting reviews from 360 degrees, and that 360 degree review should hopefully bring out things like, what's your management style? How are you as a manager?
Is that on an individual
partner? So excuse me.
That's an individual, right?
That's an individual that's an individual that's getting 360 reviewed from all different sides of their relationship. So again, that should bring out what their management style is and how effective they are perceived as being a manager by by the people that work for them. I always say subordinates, but by the people that work for them, as well as the perception of their boss of how they are as a manager. Are they micromanaging, or do they give enough flexibility to their associates, trust and empowerment and authority to their associates to make decisions and work their hours and get their work done autonomously? So that's a very effective way to hopefully get some feedback proactively before it gets to a situation where it's, I don't want to say hostile, but intimidating, to someone.
That's what I went through.
Uncomfortable.
Because the company I was with for 10 years, listen, they're the best company. I wish I was still there sometimes. I mean, it was a great company. I'll never say that. I've always told people, and I've done numerous shows. And I had to let it go after a couple of years. It was tit for tat, my wife calls it, because all it took was one change, Kylie, like you said. One new manager came in, and then you just wipes everything you just worked for. And it got to the point to where I've never missed a day's work. It got to a point to where, when people run their mouths and they spread it out and then it comes back to you, then you're like, you're in trouble. I'm in trouble. Like something's going on here. So it came down to where it had to go with HR. And I kind of felt good about it. I thought it was a really good meetings, how HR really does do it. They do a good job sometimes. They scared the living hell out of me. But it really brought it to light, and you could be as honest as you wanted to, because if I wasn't going to say something. Now I went out of work for 5 weeks after that. I took a leave of absence.
On your own accord.
Yeah, my doctor took me out. He was like, a toxic environment. It was only one bad boss, not the company. I love the company. I still love
That's
it.
all it takes, though.
That's it. And then, but the only thing is when I went back, I resigned the day I walked back in. And the reason I did that is because, first of all, I was really hurt. The second time was like that I just didn't feel there was any more trust now. And like you said, Jason, trust to me was like, all right, so now that I've taken off work, I'm going to go back, been there for 9 to 10 years, and people, everybody knows everything. But then again, that trust wasn't there. So that's why I had to leave. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did,
And I mean, and that's tough. Like, again, going for an employee to go on a leave of absence, and it's not for a physical ailment that's known by others. So AKA they're going out on a mental health leave of absence or something that is, that is a mental health related or stress related, something like that. That's that's very tough. And that's something that's not easy to navigate for an employer to reintegrate that associate into the workplace. Because again, it's not easy for the employee. It's not easy for the manager, because the manager also, even if they have they feel like they caused it, and sometimes they might have, and now they're on pins and needles with that associate on not to do it again, but still having expectations of getting their work done, but not pushing it. So it's not an easy thing to navigate, and that's honestly where it's very important for an employer to have a good reintegration policy or process for specifically for mental health cases, to work with that individual, to reintegrate them back into the workforce and their workload. So it's definitely something that should be taken seriously by an employer. It's much different than, I had a broken arm and the doctor says 4 weeks of recovery, or I had a hernia, you can't lift for 3 weeks, so you got 2 more weeks of that. It's very defined. Mental health is not defined when it comes to that stuff. And
that's what I mean.
It's much more difficult to navigate that.
I like how you said that, navigate it, because it's got to be tricky, because I guess it comes down to where if you have an employee that, and I've seen other employees like that have gone through this, and you're like, wow, I wish I could help them. And then you always sit there and say, sometimes I'd be like, well, I know what's going to happen. I know the end game. I know what's going to happen. And that usually happens. And I've always just told people to really try to talk about it. Like, oh, look at my Mike. Kylie is an example of a perfect American lady. Look at that, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Mike was just going through that with his boss. And when we were talking, he had gone to his counselor too. And, I said, sometimes you got to get to know why that person's like he is. Understand that it might not be you. It's just that person. So how do you learn? It's hard to do in
business, though.
How do you learn how to overcome that? And how do you work with somebody besides the papers of notes, but how do you work with somebody that's in that case, Jason?
Yeah. And there's several things. First off, every company should have some sort of employee assistance program where employees can go to a third party, benefit through the company to work and get access to professionals that can handle and work with them outside of the workplace. Companies should have a benefit arrangement for disability leave, either through state funding, state-sponsored leaves, or employer-sponsored leaves to take time off when needed. There should be certain PTO policies that allow for enough vacation time or flexible time off to rest and recover. There should be flexible work arrangement opportunities to work with and things that allow an employee to have ability to have individualized programs and arrangements for them, not just a one-size-fit-all. There should be employer resource groups for people that are have like-minded individuals or like quality individuals, people that can associate with that are going through similar things in life, whether or not it's cultural, physical, mental, spiritual things, and having those employee resources. Obviously, small employers is more difficult to have those internally, but even a small employer can help make sure they're promoting access to those externally. There's tons of, I was on a podcast a week or two ago, similar topic for men's mental health. And my brother has a company that High Speed Daddy, and he has had he does a lot of masterminds and stuff with dads on what it's like to be a dad and dad products and stuff like that, because he sells dad type of products. But like how being a father and going through fatherhood, especially first-time fatherhood, is tough.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of guys struggle with that.
And
so
underappreciated in the workplace.
Yeah, and men have taken a lot more bigger responsibility and roles nowadays.
I'm sorry, Kylie, what did you mean by that?
So
I just wanted to ask Kylie what she meant by that.
That I think as much as we give credit to men, paternity leave exists, those things, we have gotten to a point where we expect a man to be essentially an equal in the home when it comes to raising a child. But in the workplace, we still don't treat them as if they are equals. And I'll say that some men are not, but I think it's more and more common now that men are. They're getting up in the middle of the night and changing diapers and doing feedings and getting involved and taking kids to school in the mornings and picking them up and needing to leave early because they're the person taking them to soccer practice. And I think it's acceptable for a woman. Nobody bats an eyelash when I say, hey, I'm going to work remotely from my kid's soccer pitch because he's got practice from 4:30 to 6 tonight. Nobody thinks twice, but I'm guessing that if a man says it, there's still a little bit of like a, wait, you're leaving? Oh, okay. So I think it's a little undervalued.
Sorry about that, Jason, but I just wanted to see what she meant by that. That's
absolutely. So, but like to my point is that even as a small employer, you can help people find resource groups for things that they're going through, and you should be doing that. And then again, like
Look at Kenny. Kenny says, there you go, Kenny. Why is Jason Risoli looking so annoyed?
I'm not. I'm just riled up.
He's just feeling intense. He's intense at the moment.
Yeah, Kenny. When he gets intense, you're really doing good, Jason. You're doing good, man.
It's called passion, Kenny. It's called passion.
Yeah. So you got that HR hat on. You're doing good, man.
So, but again, there's different. If you don't have internal benefits, there's telehealth services and stuff like that you can help make sure people have access to. So again, be a facilitator for help. You don't have to necessarily be the provider of help. Just help be a facilitator to those resources for individuals. Have a genuine concern for the people that work for you and work with you every day. You spend 1/3 of your life with these people.
Okay. That's a truth.
You spend more time with your coworkers than you do your loved ones at home.
Right.
Say that all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you have a genuine concern for their well-being? I mean, I'm sure if your child or your wife was suffering from a mental illness, you'd be pretty concerned about their health. So, do you have a genuine concern about your coworkers? I mean, or you just want to micromanage them out of the business because you can't deal with them, right?
That's the thing right there. Yeah, and I think that's where it comes down to some people. I always say, like, why does somebody act like that? And like you said, when you're talking about the trust, why did they? I always just thought, I didn't realize that it's some form of OCD. If there's any truth to that, I don't know. But it just seems like if they want it their way or not your way, but maybe you have problems going on and that person just didn't ask you, like you said. There's other things, so many things going on in that person's life. Maybe you don't know that. But that first initial conversation, how do you get to that point? Like when it comes to I don't think you should be scared to go to your manager, nervous or HR. I really don't. I just believe it's their job, and maybe I'm wrong, but it's their job to figure it out. Does that make sense or not?
No, it makes perfect sense. And I love it because it's one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about where I am now. I said this to my boyfriend a few weeks ago. I ended up having a conversation that I think in any role prior I would have been almost like shaking at the knees, right? To go and have this discussion. But I have such a wonderful relationship with my management team that I have now been in a position where I don't think twice. I know that I matter. I know I'm an integral piece of this team. I know I'm respected and appreciated and wanted here.
Right.
And so something bothered me and I immediately I was like, hey, can we, I'd like to have a chat. And it wasn't like me hemming and hawing and trying to figure out how to do it in the beginning, which I've been through on numerous occasions, or just held my tongue because I was too scared to address it. And in no way was that the case this time. And it took about 3 minutes and it was, all right, okay, well, that all makes sense. Cool. Moving on. And then we were talking about, the holidays and kids and work and it kept going and a 3-minute conversation turned into 30 minutes and only 3 of it was actually addressing the thing because it was done. It was something in my whole life I've been so scared of And I thought that was a me problem, to be honest. I always thought it was like, I just don't do well with these conversations, which if you know me, you know that that's not accurate.
But I love it now. I love it because I told myself, and I think a lot of other people too, is I don't want to ever go through that ever again in my life. I really don't. And I believe that it's made me stronger to where if it gets to that point, I enjoy now talking about it.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows that when you go home, you know yourself, Jason, all the stress, you take it out on your family, you take it out on your children,
on yourself.
You go to events, you don't like it. You know, you go to the doctors, you're taking more blood pressure pills, you're drinking more if you're a drinker or smoke, you know what I mean? So it does, I guess you really got to know what you're doing there in a way.
Yeah. No, and you know what? A big part of being micromanaged and how you feel is about your own personal health, right? So how you carry yourself and how you feel, your own stress level, how you react to stress. Kylie mentioned before about, she doesn't get stressed like that anymore. She, there's things that go on.
Yeah.
Mine has been my own personal health is, if I feel like I've been living more of a healthier lifestyle, I'm able to react to stress a lot better. I'm able to keep myself more calm, breathing exercises, take a step back, relax, look at it from an external view, whatever you want to call it. There's different things that you can do as an individual. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for you, doesn't work for Kylie, different things, yourself, Dave, but there's different things that people can do on how they react to stress in those moments. And that's what, going back to Kylie's point, that's what will help set yourself up for those conversations that probably aren't that big of a conversation to have, but by ignoring it could become a much greater issue down the road. So how can you set yourself up to have that conversation earlier and diffuse it and get on with it instead of letting it build into something that really it shouldn't build into?
Mike says micromanaging people have low self-esteem. Some of them do.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yep. I had experience with one that it was very clear that the minute they left work, their home life, they had almost no control. And you could see that there was a certain, honestly, I think it makes perfect sense. They would come to work and they had earned that respect and that authority, if you will, that they weren't getting outside of. And so you saw a lot of just an exercise of that.
Yep.
I have had some exposure to some really, really wonderful OCD, as you said, Dave, but also a few narcissists that fit that bill really, really well.
That's true. I like that word.
It's true. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't faze me in the least, like the personality shifts, that's work. But as to Jason's point, and that's always been my stance, I spend more time with the people that I work with and for than I do with my children and my significant other.
Right.
So I need to feel good with those people. So you notice those little things, right? That, okay, well, you've got some traits that maybe aren't my favorite. And you put it together.
And I think that's what, sometimes leads into the micromanaging issues that we see is that there isn't a good compatibility between a manager and their subordinate.
Why do you think
not
that
everybody gets along?
Do you think
right?
It's today's society. Why do you think that? What's changed in say 20 years to now? Like, is it society?
I think it's people's. I think people, from a societal standpoint, 20 years ago they were more in tune with the authoritative aspect of a workplace. I really want to compare it to the military, but they appreciated rank. They would just get in line, toe in line. That's my boss. That's what I'm supposed to do. Nowadays, they feel a little bit more empowered to speak and be like, no, I don't want to be treated like that.
Right.
So, that's that. So yes, has society softened that? Yeah, I do think that. But I think 20 years ago, there was that, there was more respect for title. I remember when I started my career, oh my gosh, I couldn't talk to a director. That person's a director. You can't say anything. Like nowadays, it's like, I don't care who they are. Like if they're wrong, they're wrong. I'm going to tell them they're wrong. Like there's a different societal aspect to leadership. Now, granted, that's different in the military still, because they still operate with rank and file and toe and he, but I bet you that's even loosened up there compared to what it used to be, right, Dave? 20, 30 years ago. So, but I think that's a societal shift that we're seeing. I don't know if there's so many more other social societal plays into this, again, about, I really don't like bringing politics or racism and stuff like that into this play. I just do think it's more of, that society is loosened up on people expressing their opinion. Versus just doing what they're told to do because that person is in a higher rank.
I see Kylie down. You have to have been laughing at Kenny. Mr. Santa Claus. Mr. Santa Claus comments. Mr. Santa Claus is the voice of reason tonight. Who is Santa Claus?
You.
I know, right? Ever since I started growing the beard, right? It's real. It's just, I tried that beard stuff, but it doesn't work because it makes it like reddish. And then it doesn't match your hair that you have no hair up here, but then you got like a reddish beard.
The white. I think it's very, very
good look.
On you.
It's a goat. It looks like
what it is? I think it's the black shirt just makes it pop even more. Yeah. It makes it pop even more.
I know.
It's much more stand out.
Especially some of the employees that are very vocal. That is very hard. When you were talking about that, I think of people that they get very angry, and that's where I feel for those persons, like in your role of HR and upper management, it's like, wow, I know what I want to do to that person to get rid of them, but you can't just act and engage with it, and some of them get very vocal. It's tough.
This is why I can't do Jason's job.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because I wouldn't, because you're right. There used to be more respect for title. Right. But I also think on the flip side of that, it's not just that. I think that there has become more respect for self. And I have a lot of appreciation for that. What I don't have appreciation for, and this seems to be coming more and more, pretty much the generation that immediately is preceding me.
She's thinking.
Because it makes me trying not to say.
Trying to be politically correct.
Politically correct, yeah.
To an extent, yes. But there is a level of just so much desire, we'll go with this, to self-produce, right? So entrepreneurial mindsets, self-production, this has become huge.
Right.
But that also creates a lot of, as if Americans, we didn't already have just such of a need for immediate gratification. It has just skyrocketed that mentality. And so I have, on numerous occasions, run into some slightly younger, and they come in and there is this, I am going to do your job.
No.
Oh, are you? No.
Look at her eyes. Look at her eyes when she talks like that.
No, like it's just not realistic. Like, I earned my way here. I do have an appreciation for the fact that you can have it. And we've had this discussion, Dave. It's a big thing for me. You can have a seat at the table.
Right.
You have more of an ability to learn, and much more quickly than you did 20 years ago, because that title is not all that matters anymore. And I have so much respect for that. But I also think that we've, to certain extents, gone a little too far in the other direction with people coming in with entry-level experience, wanting to make the same salary that I make, and then come in and talk to me about how I should be doing my job. And while I enjoy fresh ideas, and it's something that I preach to, especially a lot of my hiring managers, like, let's listen to the younger, let's get involved here. Let's see outside of the box. It's new mindsets. I think that there has to be a line drawn. And that is one that I struggle a little bit
on that part. Jason,
I'm in that weird in-between phase where I'm really supportive of everything that's happening, but was also in the work environment when it wasn't that way. So I'm just in this weird center box area where I respect both sides and don't really know what to do with it.
Oh my God. Jason, do you feel that training, do companies should put a lot more training into their managers? I mean, that you got to see that. I'm sure companies probably think that way too, right? I mean, training, education, to learn.
I think from a management training perspective, there's certain things definitely that could benefit, and those are not hard to do. They're not, honestly, nowadays you can find a lot of that stuff for free. You don't even have to go pay and get systems and stuff like that to train, to bring stuff. And honestly, when I was at Sears, we didn't have a budget. I had to create it myself with me or my team. We'd put together these trainings ourselves and train managers in the field on different things. Obviously like time, the normal stuff like time management, but also just managing conflict. Having conversations that are uneasy conversations, how to properly performance manage, how to properly address issues, with associate, so we had to build trainings like that, those types of things that, again, people you can go buy them, you can go find them. But yes, it is important to invest, because there's always a need for people to, if someone goes through college or whatever, they weren't necessarily trained on how to manage people. To manage, and how you manage your home life doesn't necessarily work the same way at work, right? Your work life. And then going back to Kylie's point about the generational gap here when it comes to expectations. Yes, that I definitely agree with, that there's been a societal shift in the expectations of what our younger generations or more entry-level generations into the workforce are expecting. The immediate gratification. Social media has exploded with the expectation for immediate gratification and success, and guess what? There is a lot of that, and it's well deserved. But things don't come easy, or else it would come to everybody, right?
Well, we got Kenny and Mike tonight saying great things about you, Jason and Kylie. Jason's or Kenny's saying, "This is Kylie Whitley I enjoy, assertive, aggressive." And then Mike says, "I want to meet Kylie and Jason when I get out. They're real people."
I'm easy to find. So
yeah.
Let me know when you come visit Dave. I'm 20 minutes.
Or you guys can come visit me.
Yeah, I would rather. It was 22 degrees this morning. Yep.
Yeah, it was 34 here when I woke up.
Oh my gosh. Iguanas fall out of the trees at that weather.
Oh, goodness gracious, for sure. They go full comatose
when they get out. So I'll tell you again, look, almost an hour, and I didn't even get through all this.
In all fairness, I think we spent the first 20 minutes just talking.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of agree on that one.
That's true.
And that's why we enjoy this almost every Wednesday. But
this is why it's my Wednesday.
Everyone listening, give Dave a poll of like what nights are best for everyone.
Yeah,
we want to get some, and also topics and questions that you want us to address.
Yeah, I think the topics it's really what, like you said, put it out there, what people want to hear about. If there's certain topics, they can message us. I think that's great. Just PM either one of us about different ideas, because I'm open, and having guests on, we can have special guests on. We're doing different things. Oh, Kenny, every night I fall asleep. Kenny, you can see the replay at 9:00 tonight. Okay, you go into the Ring of Fire show, and it will be replaying live. So Kenny, you're going to hear yourself. You're going to hear yourself how much we say your name on this show.
Kenny's got us on one television on the computer and Jeopardy on the TV
on the other. But all right, so
that's true.
Now that we got Kenny on here, let's put him in the spot. Kenny, when are you going to come on a Wednesday night? You got to let us know what works for you, because we are giving you an invitation to come right on the show, Kenny. And we're going to put you down, or maybe up. Maybe we'll put it on the top. I don't know. We'll have to see where Kylie wants you.
Well, yeah. Well, clearly I don't have a choice. I'm on the bottom now.
Yeah, she's on the bottom.
Kenny, you can come down here with me. It's fine. All the cool people are.
All the cool people. Yeah, we're looking. Because if you look, I guess it doesn't look like I'm looking down at you, does it? You can do this. Yeah.
You can point down. I can point up at you.
Yeah, you can point up like the Brady Bunch was.
Well, you know what I really hope is that they see us laid out differently, and they're like, "What are these people pointing at?"
Exactly. No, Jason, how's I know you want to put in here, but you are still open for work, huh?
I am still open for work. Yeah, it's been last week was 6 months now, so I've crossed that mark. But it is what it is. I'm
end of the year is rough too.
Yeah. I'm optimistic. I am interviewing with a couple good employers that we'll see where it goes, and I'd be happy with either of the roles that I'm currently pretty deep in. But I've also been networking, and I had a couple of good networking opportunities. I had one today with Rutgers, my own alma mater, and a bunch of a nice HR networking team that was there. So I really enjoyed that one as well. And I think, Dave, that'd be a good one for us to possibly bring in and have on the show is that HR org. I think that we haven't talked really about networking and HR professionals and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I'm optimistic and I'm keeping the spirits up. So
no, good.
Running out of projects at the home, but
and I'm sure Dave will echo this, but my recommendation always when it gets to the end of the year, and Jason, honestly, you probably already know this too, but end of the year, a lot of people stop applying. Yeah. So this is the time to like hit it heavy because you don't have nearly as many people coming in because they get nervous. They're like, well, I don't want to be told to start. I have Christmas plans. I have holidays. So people will hold for essentially the next month.
Christmas bonus, even some of them they'd still get it. If they leave now, they're not going to get that end of year bonus.
Right. So. People that are unemployed, they're like, well, I can't start right now. Like I'm going to be out of town. We've paid all this money. We've done all these things. So yeah, I mean, apply to your little heart's content right now because it'll drop significantly from a recruitment side. My candidate flow drops by, I'd say minimum 60%, more likely 70, 75. It completely disintegrates.
Well, I went ahead. I got an interview in 2 weeks, not for work, but it is for Israel. It's called Israel Connect. So I have my interview. I filled out all the paperwork. I get my background. I'm going to sponsor or mentor a child in elementary school or it'd be high school for 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, just 1 hour a day, and to learn about English, to talk about English in Israel, teach English and learn the American dream. And they get assigned to you. And I get one hour a day. I have to be available from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for 1 hour.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah, I'm going to try something. I haven't done like that. You said Jason, you've done that mentoring. You've gone back
and again at Rutgers today, that was like one of the main reasons I went there. Granted, there was a bunch of CHROs that were there that I wanted to talk to, but talking to some of these college students, undergrads and grads, like they're all looking for internships right now, and I'm like, don't necessarily focus on the internship, focus on mentorship. Like just get exposure to HR and like what it's about, and so that way you know what path you want to go down in your career, because that's more important than just getting a paid internship and stuff like that. So look for what's going to make you happy, right? That's what I'm trying to tell them.
You can tell what makes us happy. Look at her smirk and my smirk.
What would make Kenny happy would be getting a job.
I'm listening to you, but I'm looking at Kylie and she's laughing, and I'm looking, all right, it's got to be Kenny, but I'm trying to keep a straight face for him.
Kenny,
I don't have a poker
page for me.
Yeah,
Kenny's probably got a GoFundMe page out there for me.
He said he's watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Peeps.
That's got me laughing.
Yeah, so no, I want to thank you both again, and what a great show again, an hour long. And thanks, Mike and Kenny. We had Mike and Kenny tonight, so we're doing pretty good.
Hey, rocking.
We got two. Kylie said, as long as we get one, that's all that matters. We get one.
Yeah, we got to figure it out because I think there's still something up with LinkedIn. So
yeah, I'm gonna. Well, I did put a ticket in, and I asked them if I was able to talk about politics and religion. I put a ticket in.
Did you really?
Yeah, I'll see if they respond to it. I just said, am I allowed to talk about different things? I don't want to say the wrong words.
Yeah.
But I just want to see out of curiosity if how they respond to that. I'm going to read it to you when I get it. I just want to see. If I say if like Kenny, look at Kenny. He's been in jail, 10 years on LinkedIn?
I mean, it happens to him way more often than I thought possible.
Yeah, I mean, you just say that. I don't want to say that one wrong word and then say all of a sudden, hey, you're getting booted off because you say one word. You're
I don't think it's one word. I think, like Kenny, you have to string a bunch of them together in one comment or sentence.
Yeah, his ultimately scrumptious, all this stuff. Wow, I don't even know how savor the flavor. I would say he needs a T-shirt. Savor the flavor.
There you go.
So I feel like he's part of the part 4. Look at him. We'll have to say part 5 or something.
That is the truth. We all have to have Savor the Flavor T-shirts when Kenny comes on.
Yeah, Savor the Flavor, Kenny. We'll get some put on there. Savor the Flavor. I think he'd probably be able to sell them on LinkedIn.
I think you could probably sell them just about anywhere.
I think so as well.
All right. So on that note, Jason, if you wanted to say your last thing here, what you would recommend anybody working with a micromanager, then I'll have Kylie and then myself, and then we'll call it a show.
Yeah, sure.
You had to give the best advice.
What I would say is yeah, no, my best advice is to, again, be honest and candid on how sometimes it makes you feel. Okay.
Right.
If you're concerned about it, don't be afraid to go talk to HR. All right.
Right.
But you could tell HR, like, hey, am I, like, you can approach that person. Am I in the right here? Or even a coworker that you have trust in. Am I out of my mind here or something? Or, just like, I'm just trying to understand, like, how I'm feeling right now and then be able to approach, to line it up on how to approach that. The other thing, like Kylie said earlier, though, is if you have something that bothers you, address it tactfully early. Don't let it build, because it's just going to stress yourself out more and make it a bigger issue for yourself. So, nip it in the butt quick and early, tactfully. So those are the things I would say.
Perfect. All right. Kylie.
I feel like I've actually kind of learned a little bit tonight. Never in my life, my career time, would I have considered taking that to HR, because it felt personal to me that I was bothered by something. It didn't feel appropriate to bring the business into, I guess. They hadn't done anything that was directly towards me. It just made me uncomfortable. I didn't like it, but I took that personally. It wasn't sexual harassment. It wasn't, it wasn't something that made me uncomfortable where it was somebody needs to do something about this.
Right.
So I think for me, Jason, like I've learned a lot there in terms of comfort of going to HR, because that's just not something I would have. But I think what I'll say is to any of the people who are in the positions that I was in, a little bit younger version of myself, it's terrifying. And I know it because this is truly the first time I've ever been of a mindset to do something about it, to have those discussions. Just do the hard thing anyways. Talk to the manager, because more than likely the scary, the difficult is something that's in your head, not in the business. So bite the bullet and do the thing. And if it is an uncomfortable conversation, then go to HR, and then you have, a different grounds to do it. But try, I guess, is would be my 2 cents. And I say that because it's something that I've learned this evening is probably what I should have done.
Well, my favorite thing tonight was how you said, where did you go? Where did you go? If you're having those kind of problems. And I'd have to say everything, because you've heard what I said is about, what the heck? Did I just get Kylie on HR ban? I don't know. That's my picture there. That's another show there. But I said the same thing, and I agree with, like, Jason's even said, is like, listen, you got to talk about it. Don't take it home. If you're coming home and taking it out and yelling and you're arguing with your family, that's where you need to go back to work and just talk about it. Nip it in the butt in the beginning. And I'm telling you, you will feel so much better, because then you get to come home and say, hey, I fixed my problem. I went ahead and I talked to that supervisor. You made me feel like this. And I believe if you confront it tactfully, I would say very professionally, I think that will nip it in the butt right there. Like you said, Jason, just nip it and tell the person how you feel. And then if not, listen, everybody knows how I feel. HR scares the living hell out of me, but they're there for a good reason. And they're really on your side. They have to be, you have to be very versed, because you can't, there's no way person, I know they need to protect the companies too, but they're good people. You like that, Jason? Oh, you're on mute.
Absolutely. And there's and again, it might not be your manager, it might be another manager you worked for previously in that company. Or someone that was your mentor in that company, or a lead, or again, other people you trust that you can go to for advice. Hey, this is how I'm feeling. Am I wrong for feeling like this?
Yeah,
people are going to help you. There's good people out there.
I have to ask, Jason, that's another one of those, like, you have to, even if it is somebody that you trust, you're talking about going to another manager. Isn't that something where you still kind of need to be more mindful and tactful in the way that you choose to address that concern?
Yeah. And obviously you got to understand what you're bringing to them, right? Like, you have to understand, you have to have, you can't bring them every topic, right? There's certain things, like if you bring it to them, it might not be able to stay between the two of you. Like, they might have a duty to report that. Like, obviously, my manager sexual harassing me. Am I right for how they're coming on to me? Like, okay, yeah, that I'm not sure if they're going to keep it between you. But like, hey, my manager's like asking me to take phone calls on Sundays and Saturdays, and work
Right.
nights and stuff like that. I mean, is that what is expected? Like, or how should I go about that? Like, I'm having a hard time keeping up with this. So,
Right.
or
That's a good
again, I have to respond to an email within 10 minutes, or else they get mad.
Right.
So it's there's different things that you could talk about, but there are other things that it's probably not going to be able to stay just between the two of you.
But I think also being mindful, though, that it's not like a one-sided trust, right? That that that's somebody you can really go and have that discussion with, and that it's not going to be, oh, Kylie came and was asking about this and complaining that you have her doing this. Just wait, that's going to be a problem for you.
I know it's coming, right? It's coming.
Being careful, though, right? Like being really cognizant of, yes, I know that I can have this discussion with this person, and it really is just a meeting of the minds and not something that they're going to turn around, tell me that I can trust them, and then take it to so-and-so, whoever that, that I'm not going to David saying Jason's micromanaging me. And that then David's later going, hey, Jason.
Yeah,
So I think just being really mindful if you're going to go to somebody in the workplace outside of directly to your manager or to HR, that that really is a genuine conversation you can have. Margaritas.
Right. Yeah, Kenny, I saw that. I didn't know that's what it says. Like, who's that? And it says margaritas. No, but I think it's great. This is a good show tonight. This is the kind of shows that I like about, you can write all the notes down like this, but when it comes to a story, when you can tell it relates to each person, and then you balance each other out. And Kenny, thank you for being on the show tonight.
Kenny, I will gladly have margaritas with you.
Yeah, we'll gladly. So, all right, everybody, we'll see you next Wednesday, and we'll be here, and then we'll see if what topic we'll figure something out. So be right back, and I'll talk to you after this. Good night.
Good night.
Later.